In this tutorial, I'll be talking about how to make a cone. So if we talk about a cone, it is an object, a 3D object that has a circular base, and it is going towards a point, or like a pyramid, but like following the profile of a circle. So let's start by sketching the base of our cone. So I'm going to select the XZ axis to make the base of our cone. And now, if you talk about a cone, it the point that at which it collects to essentially is perpendicular to the plane that in which its base is, right? So our base is in the XZ axis, XZ plane, but the point at which the cone sort of goes to is should be the normal to this plane. So in this case, our point should be on the y-axis. So first we have to create that point. So in order to do that, we first need to define this axis further so that we have a reference to put our point onto. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at, we can either draw it in the yx axis or the yz axis. So I'll just choose the xy axis. So I'll unhide it so that we have a place to sketch it. And I'll go into view and look at my front orientation. Nope. Yeah, here. So now the base appears as a line, although if I revolve it a little bit, you can see that it's still a circle. It's just that we're viewing it at an angle that seems like a line. And now I'm going to create my axis on the y-axis, but it's pretty small. So depending on the height of your cone, you might want to increase its length. So you can do that from here, datum axis, display, and then if you check this box, you have an option to change the length of this axis. So I want to make it a little big, so I'll choose a length of 500 mm and I'll hit OK. And this should create my axis. So now I want there to be a point on this axis. So if I go into sketch and I select the same axis in which my the same plane in which my axis is, I can sketch that point on this axis. I don't necessarily need to draw this axis, but for the sake of learning, I am showing you how to do it. And because we also get these reference axes every time we select a plane. So now I just want to make a point on this plane, and there we go. But if I hit OK, it gives me an error. So let's see what that error is. So the problem is that a point is sort of a reference. A point gives you uh, a reference position. So this position is 147.19 millimeters above the center. So in order to convert it into an object, I need to click on it, and this small menu appears, and convert the selected entities into a solid. So now I'm converting it into a solid object. All right. So I can also do this by Shift G. So if I just do this and hit OK, now there is no error. So now I've made this point onto which my cone will project, or in fact converge towards rather. So, but I also need another point to make a line essentially. Uh, well, we might not need that actually because we have a plane already. So now we need a line to make the rectangular profile. So in our case, the cone has a rectangular profile that goes from the convergence point to the perimeter of the circle or the base, and it revolves around to make the cone. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a line in this axis. So let's look at this axis again. It's the XY axis or the front view. So let's go into view and look at it again. And let's form a line that's such that it touches this point and the perimeter of our circle. So the problem is we can't really see the circle, so we might have to revolve it a little bit. And now I'm going to go into model and sketch my line. So So I had already selected the axis, the plane, so it didn't the pop-up didn't appear for me to select the axis. So this can make your life simpler. So I'm only drawing in the y-x axis. So you can see, okay, if I select this axis, I can only draw it within on the x-axis. In fact, within this plane, I can leave the point here if I like, but I want to go to the perimeter of the circle. So let's zoom in to see where both of these intersect, which is about here. And if I press OK, my line should be created. Yeah. Now I can see that I have part of my cone. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to revolve this line about the y-axis to make my cone. So I select the line, I go to revolve, and I select the second thing I have to select is the axis around which I want to revolve it. So if I revolve it now, I get my cone. But the problem is, okay, this is not a solid cone. It's just the surface of the cone. So in order to make the complete solid cone, I actually have to make the complete profile. So that means I have to make a triangular, not a line, but a triangular profile. So I have to complete my line. So again, I choose the axis in which I'm making my lines. I go to sketch and I uh, select it a couple of times. Okay, I go to sketch and I uh, define the axis and I complete my triangle. So now my triangle is complete. I hit OK and you can see that this is this cone. In fact, I would have to delete it because I want to these are now appearing as two different sketches, whereas because now I can't revolve them around, it won't be solid, so I have to actually edit this one. So this is a good thing because now I know uh, that way we could circumvent an error. So if I go to edit definition, control E, I can now make my other two lines that I need within the same sketch so that when I revolve them I get the correct profile. Now this is my rectangular profile. So now if I select this, it's a triangle, and I revolve it around this axis, and now you can see that it's solid, and we can look it in our preview that it is in fact a solid cone. I hit OK and my drawing is complete.